Hello. So this is my video essay for my English class, and today I'll be talking about The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. I will show my face at the end of the essay, so you know it is official and it is definitely by me. But Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven. Let me go through a quick summary and then I'll get started with these symbolisms. So, The Raven is a narrative poem that tells a story of a grieving man who is visited by a talking raven. This man is mourning the loss of his love, Lenore, and he becomes increasingly obsessed with the raven, which only utters the words, nevermore. The man's mental state deteriorates as he's asking the raven various questions because he kind of thinks it's a messenger from the afterlife that Lenore sent. But it just kind of drives him more crazy when his only thing he could say is nevermore. The poem explores themes of loss, grief, and descent into madness, and dark and haunting words known for its eerie atmosphere and the raven's ominous presence. Just a quick summary on that. But let's get into the different symbolisms. So, one of the very first things that it notes is that it's midnight and it's December. Luckily, I have December right here. And this clock is a little after midnight because I had to reset it already. So, what these symbolize. So, first with the month of December. Usually we think of, yay, Christmas and celebration. But the month of December can also be, well, kind of sad. Back then it was more of like a ghostly time of the year, where December can kind of reflect the cold and dark and melancholic mood throughout the poem. December more or less kind of symbolizes the emotional and psychological state of the narrator, mirroring his feelings and loss and despair. So December is kind of a sad month, but I mean, it's kind of fun now. But going on with the clock itself, with the clock being at the strike of midnight, this kind of has some eerie symbols to it with strike at midnight. Even like reflecting into some old scary movies when it hits midnight, it's just kind of ominous. Midnight represents a time of darkness and uncertainty, aligning with the narrator's emotional state as he grapples with grief and despair. So, December, midnight, a little spooky. As it goes on, he is visited by a spooky little tapping on his door. And, you know, of course he's like, who's here? It's midnight. I was just reading my book. Speaking of books, I also have a book. Ghost. But as he was kind of just chilling out at his home, he was reading books, trying to ease his pain just a little bit, trying to keep his mind off of the fact that he just lost his loved one. So, as he's reading those books, he is visited by a raven. This is a little jar of raven feathers. It says raven wings. So the raven itself is, well, it can be a representation of a god of death or messenger from the god of death. The raven can be interpreted as a symbol of death, carrying messages to and from the afterlife. It signifies the end of life and the unknown realm beyond it. Also known as the harbinger of death, messenger of the unknown, and reflection of despair and madness. As the poem progresses, the raven relentlessly continues to say nevermore, as that's probably the only word it actually knows, unless it was just a cruel prank by a friend. That'd be a pretty long prank to try to teach a raven to say nevermore. But it serves as a reflection of the narrator deepening despair and ascent into madness. So this raven's just straight up driving this guy crazy. But as the story goes through and kind of picking out different parts and well, just different details of what they might represent in the story. The next thing we have is the bust of the Pallas Athena. I do not have a bust of Athena. However, I do have a 3D print of Shrek and the Rock. It's called the Shrek. Anyway, this is my bust of Athena. So, Athena is a representation of wisdom and rationality. The bust symbolizes these things, serving as a contrast to the narrator's irrational and emotional descent. As he's descending into madness, the bust just kind of sitting there, just kind of serves as a stark contrast, highlighting the growing disparity between reasoning and irrationality. So yeah, that's some heavy stuff with the Shrek, but he does his best. Moving on to the next thing. I do not have a door on me, but I do have a door in front of me. I'm just going to show it once and then continue on the door. The door can also be known as, in olden times, as a boundary between the known and the unknown. The door symbolizes a boundary between the earthly realms and the unknown. And that could be relative to now with anything, as you're more known to what's going to be on the inside than you're unknown to what's going to be on the outside if someone were to be knocking on your door. But representing the afterlife or the supernatural, the narrator longs to open the door to connect with the unknown, reflecting his yearning to reach out to the other side, to be reunited with his Lenore. And going along with Lenore, and I didn't actually show this in the very beginning, but I will now. So it has the narrator and also has Lenore. I personally like to view them as Bill Dauterive from King of the Hill because, well, he's very depressed and he also desperately misses his Lenore. This is Lenore. This is his Lenore. She's not dead. She's just an awful person. But Lenore is the narrator's lost love. Love that recently died. Lenore symbolizes that and his ability to move on from the grief of her death. He is overly obsessed with her, similar to Bill, and highlights the unresolved grief and emotional turmoil that consistently haunts him since her death. So, as he's just kind of depressed, he desperately misses her. He wants this raven to give him a message, say something, just anything that he could ever have that Lenore could tell him as she is dead. But he just Raven just says nevermore. She's dead. Bye-bye. So he is just straight up in mourning. And she's just gone forever. The last thing I'm going to be noting on this, I'm pretty much done, but the last thing I'm going to be note is literally the only thing that stuck out to me as I was thinking about symbolism things. I'll grab right over here. It's a purple curtain. What does it mean? So the purple curtain itself, it doesn't really mean too much besides loss or mourning. It does mean royalty in some old time things like royalty and whatnot, where they would have unique fabrics, and purple was a very expensive one. So purple is, well, royalty, but also can mean for mourning and loss. But that is it for my video. I am reaching the very end of it, so it's already almost at its 9-10 minute mark. Thank you, and I will be showing myself briefly. Hi. So that was my video, and yeah.